What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Today I've got a special video for you guys. I'm going to be doing a movie review today. Today I'm going to be talking about the highly anticipated Spider-Man No Way Home. That's right, people. This is going to be my first movie review on this channel. Probably not going to be that formal, but I do want to give my thoughts about it. Why? Because I love Spider-Man and I was really looking forward to this film. Just in case you have not seen a movie, I'm going to be talking about spoilers. So if you haven't seen a movie and you don't want spoilers, subscribe and then click off the video. Okay, that's how you do it. First things first, everybody, this is what everybody was really looking forward to. I'm going to be honest, there's only about 5 things that I was going into this movie looking for. Number 1, Tobey Maguire. Number 2, Andrew Garfield. Number 3, Green Goblin. Number 4, Doc Ock. Number 5, yeah, that's pretty much it. It is confirmed. Yes, they are in the movie. Andrew Garfield is the werewolf. That guy was trying so hard, but it was just so obvious that he was just playing around. That guy is the worst liar in Hollywood, and that guy has taught me to never believe a single actor ever again when they say that they're not in a movie when there's a ton of leaks to prove otherwise. So yeah, seeing Tobey Maguire, specifically Tobey Maguire, on the screen after so long it's surreal, man. It was unbelievable. Like, to see Tobey Maguire and even Andrew Garfield, I must admit, especially because Andrew Garfield has such a great performance in this movie, but seeing Tobey Maguire, the original Spider-Man, the go-web guy, the Fly, that guy, seeing him on the screen one more time was absolutely just fulfilling. And normally I don't like when movies bait people in by bringing in old cast members and all this kind of stuff, but this right here was really justified, and they had a lot to do. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they weren't just filler, they weren't just fan service, they weren't bait, right? They had a great role in the movie and it served them well, and I was really pleased with their performance in this movie. Doc Ock and Green Goblin were 2 other villains that I was really looking forward to seeing in this movie that I really think that they served well. I was really concerned about whether they were going to kind of ruin Doc Ock's story arc, or whether they're going to ruin Green Goblin's story arc, or any of that kind of stuff in a way that was just like, oh, come on, man, what are you guys doing? More importantly, the story of Spider-Man No Way Home really concludes the trilogy in a really satisfying manner, especially when I think that the other 2 movies, they weren't bad, but it's just like, they didn't hit that mark for me. But this movie definitely hits that mark, and I think that this trilogy is ended really well, and they should be really proud about that. This is the first Spider-Man trilogy to end on a really high note, and I know they're going to go on to make 3 more movies, and I think that this is the absolute perfect ending. And in a perfect world, they would go on to make 3 other movies, because I know that they confirmed another trilogy. They would go on to make another set of 3 movies where they actually do it really well. But when you make more movies, the more chance you have of kind of like failure, but I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But anyways, No Way Home is an amazing ending to the Home series. The last time we had a movie that was 2.5 hours long, we ended up with something like, yeah, that didn't end very well. But anyways, this movie does a really good job of handling a movie with so many different characters and actually having the movie make sense and have good pacing. So I was really pleasantly surprised to see that they didn't mess this movie up, basically. And it's unlike some movies that were in the past that didn't do so well with this. Looking at you, Spider-Man 3, all of the villains are incorporated and introduced in their own unique way, and they all really contribute to the story in a way that adds to the story's value. It almost feels like 2 different movies, because you've got one half where they're introducing all the characters and sort of setting up the plot of curing them, and then you have the second half where Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield come into the movie to sort of help with this. But the second half is almost like a movie on its own. Now here's something that I was really hoping that this movie would deliver on, but I don't think that it did, and that is soundtrack. I don't think that most MCU movies really deliver on the soundtrack in the way that Danny Elfman delivered with Spider-Man 1 and 2 and influenced 3, but I was looking forward to sort of seeing something like that. I do like how they incorporated some of the different themes from the other Spider-Man and from the Green Goblin a little bit, and from Doc Ock and some of the other characters. But overall, the soundtrack, in my opinion, it doesn't hit it for me when it comes to rememberability and all that kind of stuff, right? It just doesn't hit it. Like I said, most Marvel movies, in my opinion, minus like some stuff like the Avengers, they really don't do it for me anyway. So I'm not too shocked, man. Whatever, this movie's not gonna have a memorable soundtrack, in my opinion, minus the few good parts that they kind of brought back from the Danny Elfman trilogy and all that kind of stuff, you know. Soundtrack was just all right. I'll leave it at that. Now, despite the fact that I really loved this movie, and I loved the fight scenes in it, I loved the story, I loved the Green Goblin, I loved Doc Ock, I love the suit that they gave Green Goblin, by the way. The only thing that I wish that they kind of did was I wish that they didn't break his mask. Don't break my boy's mask. That was the best part of his costume from from Spider-Man 2002. Don't break it. Keep his mask, give him a hood, give him sort of like this cloak thing, make him look kind of like a hobgoblin. I don't care. Make him look like a badass. I think that they made him look okay. I love seeing Green Goblin's face, like Norman Osborn's face. I love seeing that. But hook my boy up, man. Give him his mask back, give him a hood, and make that dude look like a complete badass. If they did that to him, that guy would look like a god, okay? Like just straight up. Speaking of Green Goblin real quick, man, there's some really crazy, interesting scenes in this movie. Like there's a fight scene between Peter Parker and Green Goblin. I think it's their first fight together, and it's absolutely crazy where, you know, Peter basically jumps on this dude's head and he's like punching him in his face, and then Green Goblin just like sitting there smiling, and he starts laughing like a maniac. It's just crazy, man. That was something that I'll never forget. They did Doc Ock really well in this movie. I was pleasantly surprised to see how they did Doc Ock. They kind of redeemed Doc Ock a second time. Like they kind of just repeated his story arc from Spider-Man 2, which, you know, honestly, I'd rather them play it that safe than to go out on a limb and start doing something crazy and end up, you know, kind of ruining Doc Ock's story arc. But, you know, I was pretty happy with it. You know, they basically redeemed Doc Ock again. He came into the movie pretty evil, and they redeemed him. And at the end of the day, Doc Ock is a good guy, as established from Spider-Man 2, and I'm kind of glad that they stuck with that. Electro was a really amazing character in this film. This guy honestly doesn't have much motivation other than thinking that he's a loser and then wanting to sort of use his powers to sort of elevate himself. Really a selfish kind of character, but I think Jamie Foxx did an amazing job with portraying his character, and I think that he was absolutely great on screen. Now we've got our two bench warmers, Sandman and Lizard. I don't know why they were in this movie. You know, if they would have took these two characters out of the movie, they basically would have been just, I mean, they're just so pointless, man. They were basically pointless. It's kind of like they put them in the movie just so that they could be in the fighting scenes, to be honest, because yeah, they had a few lines. The Lizard definitely had the least amount of lines. Like, I don't know why. Like, that was very strange, but their actors didn't even reprise their roles as, like, in, you know, physically at least. I think they provided some voice, but Thomas Hayden Church and Rhys Ifan, I mean, they provided their voice and that's pretty much it. I don't know what happened, but for some reason they weren't able to get them into the studio, and maybe it's COVID or some other stuff going on. I don't know, but yeah, basically they just provided their voice and that was pretty much it. The few times that they were actually seen in their human form, actually it was like one time, to be honest. It was just like, you know, they took some stuff from Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man and just like cut it into this movie and just like kind of rehashed it. It was pretty weird. I don't think I've ever seen something like that so brazen in a movie. Like, it was so obvious. But yeah, seeing the three Spider-Men in the end of the movie fighting it and duking it out with the villains was really amazing. And Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man really did get some justice in this movie, man, with some different lines for number one, and also just he was able to save you know, MJ, which is, you know, Tom Holland's MJ. He was able to save her in such a way that was in a way that he tried to save Gwen Stacy, and that was really redeeming, and it was a really heartfelt moment that even I felt. I was like, man, they actually really did that. I didn't think they were gonna do it. And the whole theater, for me, man, there were so many moments where the theater went berserk, but that was a moment where the theater really went crazy because they really felt it for him, man. They were like, I'm so glad that he got that redemption. But yeah, Andrew Garfield got a lot of redemption in this movie. You know, he got a lot of lines. He seemed to have the most charisma of all of the Spider-Men, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if that's like a writing thing or it's just like something that Andrew Garfield, you know, really brings to the character. But I never really had an issue with Andrew Garfield. I just didn't like his movies. I thought they were atrocious. At the end of the movie, you know, Tom Holland basically beats up Green Goblin, you know, in a ridiculously weak fight. I mean, my boy Green Goblin, man, why'd they nerf him, man? At that ending fight, they nerfed the hell out of him, man. Like, are you kidding me? Damn, dude, that was the most disappointing ending fight. It's like, come on, man. I was expecting like Spider-Man 1 beatdown, you know what I mean? I mean, I know that they had the apartment scene and, you know, Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe was like throwing him through walls and throwing him through floors and all this different stuff. And he killed Aunt May. Like, come on, son. I mean, that did not. It just doesn't compare to what Willem Dafoe did to Tobey Maguire Spider-Man at the end of Spider-Man 1. That's one of my complaints, is that I think that I genuinely feel like they nerfed Green Goblin at the end of the movie at least. Look, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people disagree. agree. I know a lot of people are like, nah, dude, Green Goblin was amazing in this movie. He was amazing. Willem Dafoe did an amazing job as Norman Osborn and as Green Goblin. I'm talking about the fighting scenes. I'm not talking about, the fighting scenes were really good, but they just weren't what I expected. You know what I mean? They weren't bad, so don't get that idea if you haven't seen the movie, but the fighting scenes just weren't what I was hoping for, especially when it comes to Green Goblin. Like, another horrible nitpick that I had was when Green Goblin showed up, and this has something to do with the CGI. The CGI in this movie was absolute trash, man. Just completely bad. Horrible stuff, man. Like, I've seen movies, I guarantee you the CGI in Spider-Man 2, you know, from 2004 is better than the CGI in this movie. Facts, without a doubt. I don't care what anybody has to say. That is a fact, okay? Now, the bridge fight felt so fake. Like, I'm sorry. It just felt so fake, so unreal, man. I was just like, dude, what is this? Are you using a big green screen? Like, what is this, man? Are you kidding me? But yeah, the CGI wasn't that great. But anyways, here's my biggest gripe with the highway scene. When Green Goblin first showed up and he threw that bomb, first of all, my theater was going berserk, which was awesome. And I'll never forget that moment when Green Goblin came up and they had their Willem Dafoe, you know, that music. That was awesome when Green Goblin first popped up. But then when Green Goblin actually showed his face, you know, I was like, what the hell? Why does he look like that? First of all, it was exactly from the trailer. So if you saw the trailer, you already saw this part. But yeah, dude, like Green Goblin looked horrible, man. I'm sorry, that CGI was absolute trash. Like, I don't know why his head looked like oversized big, like unnaturally big. The CGI in 2002 made Green Goblin at least look like Green Goblin. In this movie, he looks horrible. The color is off. It's such a weird thing. And then it gets even worse. Number one, they didn't even have Green Goblin fight him with that. Man, one of my nitpicks was I was hoping that Green Goblin was going to fight Spider-Man in that costume. That would have been so badass, man. But then no, they skipped to a freaking dungeon scene with, you know, Doc Ock and you know, everybody was basically taken over to, you know, be with Doctor Strange and all this stuff, man. Like, come on, dude. I was trying to see that fight, man. But there was a scene where Green Goblin was like at a dumpster site or something, and he was like trying to cover up his goblin gear or whatever, his glider, and he had this mask sitting up on the trash can on the dumpster or whatever. And dude, this Green Goblin mask looks so weird, man. It looks so off. Like, the CGI, I know for a fact that Green Goblin's armor and his helmet and probably the entire scene was all CGI. Like, it was unbelievably bad. Like, the colors were off. Green Goblin's helmet just looked really weird, man. I was like, dude, this doesn't look like the same Green Goblin, man. It's like, I don't know, man. There's something about it, man. I don't know if there's missing details of that helmet or something. The color was definitely off. It was like just like extreme emerald green. It was like saturation turned up to 10. Like, it looked just horrible, man. Like, God, I hope that when this movie comes out, like, they redo the CGI or something like that. I don't know what they can do. That CGI was horrible, and it really triggered me because I really like Green Goblin's, you know, suit from 2002. Contrary to what a lot of people think, I actually liked his suit. I liked the helmet. I didn't really like his actual suit, but I liked it all. Okay, whatever, fine. Can I like it all? Fine. But I was really disappointed to see how they did that. I was like, you couldn't just like get him and like replicate his suit or something? You guys have all this money. You couldn't replicate the costume and replicate the helmet and then have him break the helmet. You know, it just, even the way the helmet fell when he broke it, like, dude, it looks so fake. Like, anyways, that's one of my nitpicks when it comes to Green Goblin. Honestly, that's most of my nitpicks overall. You know, I thought Sandman and Lizard were just, you know, seat warmers. I thought that the CGI for them was horrible. I thought that the CGI for Green Goblin in the beginning was absolutely atrocious. I thought the bridge scene was really, really bad with the CGI. The end fight with Spider-Man, with the three Spider-Men, dude, why do I feel like Tobey Maguire in specific? Now, I know that entire scene with all the Spider-Men swinging together and doing all this stuff, I know that all was CGI, but I feel like Tobey Maguire in specific, his costume was complete CGI. I feel like they didn't even get him the original suit. Like, did they even replicate it? I don't know. It feels like all of it was CGI. It was so strange, man. You know, it was just so strange, and the CGI just looked so off. It looked so fake, man. Like, looking at Tobey Maguire in his costume, I was just like, dude, that looks so bad, man. Like, why? Like, they couldn't get the original costume. Like, I don't understand. Like, why is his mask like that? Why do the lenses look like pure white? And it just like, it looks so horrible. Anyways, those are my gripes with the movie. The CGI was horrible. Green Goblin's suit looked horrible in the beginning because of the CGI, and I think that the last fight, in my opinion, was underwhelming. I was looking for something a little bit more combative between the Green Goblin and Tom Holland Spider-Man. Honestly, Green Goblin didn't really put much of a fight up in the end. It was honestly kind of weird to see. It kind of just seemed like he just kind of gave up. It was just, I don't know, just super weird, man. But like Green Goblin had all these, we barely saw his costume, like his new costume, and I was just so disappointed with that. And I loved his glider, and I feel like I don't know, man, when that glider came through to you know, knock out Aunt May or whatever, why didn't he just like kill her then with the spikes, you know? Like it just hit him out of the, it's just weird, man. You know, I like this glider. I just feel like they didn't, you know, utilize that stuff as well as they could have. His new suit, his Green Goblin's new suit, I wanted to see it more, you know, I wanted to see it more in detail, see it more, you know, up close and stuff like that, and we didn't really see it that much. And you know, I don't know, it's just weird, you know, there's just some weird stuff about the movie that I just wasn't a big fan of, but you know, it's just nitpicky stuff, to be quite honest with you. So it's not stuff that ruins the movie or anything like that. And anyways, I'm done ranting about the CGI and Green Goblin not looking that great and so on and so forth. Oh yeah, one last thing that I had as far as nitpicks was some of the tone issues in this movie. Like there'd be a really, and honestly, I think this is like an issue with Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in general, to be honest, but you know, there would be like really serious scenes that you're supposed to take seriously, and then here we go, don't ruin it with the jokes here. Oh, here we go, they ruin it with a joke, or you know, stuff like that, right? Where we're watching a movie, we're immersed in a movie, and then here come the joke, and it's just like, can you stop? Please, like, can we take this seriously for once? Spider-Man 1 and 2, and I don't remember the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but Spider-Man 1 and 2 and 3 did not have the sort of tonal issues. If they did, they were pretty lighthearted, and they weren't taking away from the immersiveness of the movie. In Spider-Man 3, a little bit towards the end, they had a little bit of that issue, but overall, Spider-Man 1 and 2 and 3, you know, they didn't have that stuff, and I was really disappointed when we'd be having a really serious issue, and then here comes MJ with the jokes, or here comes Peter, or here comes somebody with some stupid wisecrack thing to say, and it's just like, oh my god, please, you're ruining the immersiveness of the movie. Anyways, guys, oh man, I forgot to tell you guys how this movie ends. I'm so sorry, I got too distracted with rants and all this different stuff. Basically, Peter Parker tells Doctor Strange, hey man, you know what, just make everybody forget that I was Spider-Man, even MJ and everybody else. And but before Doctor Strange finishes the spell, Peter Parker basically tells Zendaya, or you know, MJ, basically, hey man, I'm gonna forget who you guys are, but you know, when things come back together, I am going to go to you guys and I'm going to tell you guys who I am, and I'm going to make you guys remember. And that's what he says. That's his promise to them. And so, you know, Doctor Strange does the spell. Peter Parker at the end of the movie goes to MJ at the cafe. Ned is sitting there eating some donut or bagel or something. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, he goes into them and he ends up deciding, because he sees the bandage on you know, MJ's forehead, and it kind of reminds him, he's like, man, she got that scar because she knew who I was. And it kind of is like a symbolic reminder that, hey, maybe it's not a good idea for me to tell them who I am and for them to know all this stuff about me, you know, maybe it's not. And he makes a decision to not tell them, and that was really a strong thing that honestly, in my opinion, changes this guy from being Tony Stark Jr. to Spider-Man. And that was something that I really appreciated about the ending of this movie, and I loved it. And at the end of the movie, we see Peter Parker moving into this really bad apartment. He's gonna get his GED. He quit high school, I guess, or whatever, I don't know. He's gonna get his GED, and he's going to just live his life away from MJ and Ned, and we're gonna see how this goes in the next trilogy. And this is a really amazing ending to the movie. And oh yeah, he ends up making this really spandexy, you know, bright red and blue Spider-Man costume that looks super good. It looks super comic accurate as well, even though I'm not one of those people that cares so much about like comic accuracy. I just want the stuff to be good and to be like badass looking or whatever. But this, it looks great. I like anything with bright colors, and this is definitely the brightest, you know, Spider-Man costume that we've seen, and it looks shiny, it looks amazing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this in the next movies. But this is kind of like a symbolic him shedding his old Spider-Man identity and kind of just becoming his own man. He's no longer in the Avengers. He's no longer, you know, with Tony Stark. He's now Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And that's what I loved about Spider-Man No Way Home. Thank you guys so much for watching. This video went on for a little bit long. I was kind of all over the place. I hope you guys enjoyed. I did get as many points as I could, all the stuff that I was interested in, all the stuff that I cared about. I tried to mention it in this movie. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. It's your boy 7. Subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, do all that great stuff. And I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Out am I?